Hello and welcome once again to the Dr. Zeero Xiron Free Magic Secret Show, where you are at the abode of Dr. Zero with a very special issue. I'm going to kill that extra light. But this is an episode called Comics Are Magic Too, because they are. And here's the thing. If you didn't grow up with comics, or if you just had like a couple issues hanging around that were like some mediocre like Batman, Captain America, or Spider-Man kind of stuff that like didn't thrill you or really get you into it, and you missed out on all the extremely brilliant underground stuff that was coming out, I want to fast track you to success with just this is like my box of my favorite stuff ever that I've held on to. And these are called short boxes. And Doc has gone through tons and tons and tons of stuff in his existence. And comics are, what drove my literacy at a young age, because I was lucky enough to live down the street from like a super underground punk rock comic book shop, like an independent comic book shop that would have 10 comics for 10 cents bins. And it would be tons of stuff that were like meant for like, mature readers that I was getting my hands on, that perhaps I shouldn't have been getting my hands on at a young age. But, and a lot of that stuff had the flavor of like punk rock zines and social commentary and stuff and the Cold War and everything. So anyway, blah, blah, blah. These short boxes, I currently own 5 of them, packed to the brim of the best stuff that I've kept throughout my life. And you have no idea how much stuff I've given away or sold or etc. And I wish I had other boxes with me. I'd show you more stuff. But so, comics are magic too. The important thing about magic is unleashing the imagination. This is like crucial thing to do with it. And the thing is, like I was saying, people who weren't keyed into comic book culture or understanding the how high class they truly are, and how witty and important and intelligent and useful they are. Basically, if you get the right comic book into the hands of the right person who never read one of them before and has never experienced the magic of them, it's going to open all kinds of floodgates of imagination. And it's that great, because you can hand someone a book on magic. You could make them come to a little ritual. You could have them dance around the bonfire. You could have them do all sorts of things. But floodgates of imagination, it's just all it takes is that, you get that boulder, you kick it, it starts going down and down and down, getting inertia. So I'm going to show you what I would recommend if you never had comics before, and also ones that are like great magical weapons from this standpoint. So Doc actually goes to the comic book store that he goes to. There's tons and tons of boxes like this, but twice as long, filled with comics for 50 cents each that are old stuff that ended up in a bargain bin from this dude who just has people bring them their stuff from their basement, selling it to him. So you get tons and tons of old stuff, and that's a beauty right there. So I get comics for like 50 cents a pop, old like 70s, 1960s, 70s, 80s stuff, and I give it out to all the right people at the right times, and especially bus drivers, especially young kids that I see out in public. And I always give out comic books for Halloween and for Christmas and various times. So let's just get right to it here. I'm going to show you the first box. This is stuff that's going to go to a buddy of mine in random cool. Ooh, Iron Man number 16. Not that special. X-Force number 1. Those big Rob Liefeld bodies, the creator of Deadpool. A-Rex, Son of Thunder number 1. Here's a Swamp Thing with Superman Piers. But this is what I wanted to show you. It's this series that Vertigo put out, and Vertigo was the really weird underground, tailored to like the goth industrial weirdo alternative crowd of the early 90s that DC put out. This is a Shade the Changing Man. And what Shade is all about is he's like an alien from another dimension who is a policeman of madness, because madness is an actual like realm or a dimension, and sometimes it bleeds through into reality, and then on Earth he has to come to Earth because madness manifests itself in insane people all over the place, and it leaks out of their head like a powerful force field or a powerful dimension that he has to constantly keep in check. And this is one of the most bizarre, innovative comics of all time. And I am hooking up a buddy with my whole collection because I'm downsizing. Mine eyes have screamed the glory. So yeah, this might actually be a long Dr. Zeero episode. I cleared a bunch of room off my thing. So these are going to my buddy, but also going to my buddy is Warlord. It's about a pilot who flies in the middle of Hollow Earth, and then he gets stuck in this land of dinosaurs and ancient civilizations that existed. And that cat on his shoulder is a badass sorceress, and she turns into like a female, and he's got a shoulder cat. He's totally awesome. He has a shoulder cat, and just showing you some of the greatest hits of Warlord. I recommend all these. Again, got all these annuals for like 50 cents each, dude. And downsizing, and this is going to a buddy of mine because he hung on to all my comic books when I was homeless, and it helped me avoid getting one of those little, like, $100 a month storage spaces somewhere, So yeah, anyway, you get the picture. So this is Warlord. War. Look how awesome he's looking right there. One of the last towards the end of the series. Okay, so this is just the warm-up. And I wanted to take you on a magical adventure of Nemesis the Warlock and Swamp Thing. I'm going to show you something really dope right now. If this was in perfect condition, it'd be worth probably like 10 grand. X-Men number 14. Uncanny X-Men number 14. So I'll try to get a better picture of that. The first appearance of the Sentinels. Then maybe, this would maybe be worth a couple $100, like whoever would want to pay for it. It's just a reading copy, which leads me to some other reading copies. Let me let's see this. So here's Superfly. I got another one of the dudes once called Boiled Angel that's autographed. This dude was making these wild comic books like this and selling them through like mail order, like in different zines and punk rock zines and stuff like that. And some 17-year-old kid got it somewhere, and his parents freaked out because they were like Christian, and then they filed a lawsuit, and then Florida said that he was pushing pornographic stuff to minors, and then they put him in jail, and then they prohibited him from illustrating anything for like I think it was like 5 to 10 years. He couldn't draw. And then the Comic Book Legal Defense Fund came to rescue him, and I'll show you another one of his later. So this is Bob's favorite comics. If you don't know about the Subgenius, that's all about that. So here we have, I'll show you real quick. They were Caliber Comics, who did The Crow. We're from Detroit. And they had this like evil goth vampire Peter Pan dude. And this is the evil Peter Pan series where he's like this vampire, and Captain Hook is like almost like a crazy one's autographed. And then the dude who made this, it ended up jumping ship to this Chaos Comics, and they reprinted them. But Disney was threatening to sue them for using the character, and they were going to sue the pants off of them, And so this is more of the Caliber. The run. Look at Tinkerbell looking awesome. So The Lost, it's totally awesome piece of work right there. It was stunted just because, again, a lawsuit was coming. So this right here, first appearance of Scarecrow, Silver Age Scarecrow at least. Holy Cliffhanger, the Cape Crusader in the grip of the one villain he is compelled to fear. So if this was in beautiful shape, it'd be worth $700 or something. And I got it for $3 in 1992 at a comic book show because some kid drew in crayon on one of the pages. Just like this bad boy. Now, this bad boy, Star Wars .1. Now, if you know the deal, if you get a Star Wars .1 with one of these, it's worth like freaking 20 grand if it's a 9.0 or better. But the truth is, see, this was also printed basically like when they put this out, there was problems with the pricing, so they recalled this one with the barcode, so it's ultra rare. And then there's one that has nothing in the barcode area. So what happened was some brilliant dude took what would be worth, you know, maybe like a $400 or $500 comic book, and he fucking glued one of these things on here to try to like fool people that this would be the actual rare one. So he ruined any value of it, and I got this bad boy for $5. And this thing, somebody in South Africa had tried that scheme, because I got it from a dude in South Africa, and it somehow traveled over on a briefcase, ended up in my possession. Punisher POV, one of the coolest things Punisher ever made, autographed by Bernie Wrightson, who is now deceased. He's the creator of Swamp Thing and horror comics. He's massive. So these are all Dead World was the original zombie comic, and that was the same caliber, the same people who put out The Crow. It was the other big title. That's the first appearance of Dead World in another thing. This is a collected Dead World thing. But all of these are autographed by Vince Locke, and he's the main dude who did all this. And he is famous for doing all the Cannibal Corpse cover art. So he did all that brutal stuff. And this was his comic book, and he was this dude. He was from Michigan. He was from Detroit. So I'm just gonna show you, like, look how awesome that artwork is. Oh, it's autographed. So the cover, this isn't Vince Locke on the cover. This is another guy named Guy Davis, I think. Oh, no. That is a Vince Locke cover. I'm sorry. The Vince Locke cover, and then Guy Davis has artwork in front. I was going to say that looks awfully Vince Locke for being Guy Davis. So you'll know his stuff. So this is the first issue, autographed by the dude. Dope. This is like the weird like sigil that like unleashes the zombie apocalypse upon the world that this sorcerer made, and I really want to get that tattoo, but nobody will know what it means. So they had to do 2 covers when printing this, because they'd always have a cover that was like super violent, like this one, this like crazy Nazi guy. There would be one cover is printed later, and I'll run into one of them. It'll say like "not for wussies," which is pretty good, huh? Would a wussy read that comic? No, they would not. There's that weird Nazi dude, but maybe they get in trouble for the swastika on his heads. This one's dope. I love that cover. That's King Zombie. He's the dude. More King Zombie. Show you. Yeah, so there'd just be, yeah, blah, blah, blah. So this is this one box. I'm going to run out of some space here in a second while I got some space. House of Secrets. Number 24. The Beast from the box. And this really one. Mystery in Space. The last issue before it was like paused for like 40 years or something. This is just a wacky one. These are a bunch of ones I had as a little kid. I was a big fan of Master of Kung Fu. Don't know the number. It's great. Double Dragon number 1. They took a lot of time and effort on that art, and then the rest of the series was absolute shit. Power Man Iron Fist 124. He fights a bunch of ninjas to the death. I love it. Cold-Blooded Chameleon Commandos. It's a Ninja Turtles knockoff. This is the Batman where Joker is like this is the tarot issue. Batman Detective Comics 617. This is a must-have if you're into Magic, because Batman goes to a fortune teller, and this is where I saw the Caudacious for the first time. And inside this comic is where I first saw the Tree of Life. And see the Justice down here. This is the start for me. Like, it was one early on my Magic adventure. And Fantastic Four 184. They fight this dude named the Eliminator, and it's dope. And this is that Mike Diana other comic, the dude who went to jail. Oh, it's hidden, but it's pink. It's got his autograph. Okay, I'm gonna pause it and show you more stuff. Okay, and we are back. So I had to move the box, unfortunately, which is now right here, and they kind of hit me real quick. So I'm going to show you how awesome Nemesis the Warlock is, and at least a bunch of them. First off, here's this random cool series that I always enjoyed, and this is about like this Antichrist guy who shows up to DC and he's like, "Sell me your souls in exchange, and I'll give you increased superpowers." And then all the supervillains get super powered underworld. They're fighting them and stuff, and then they have to fight their way through the green forces of hell. So meet Nemesis the Warlock. Look how awesome that is. So this is the Eagle Comics 7-issue Necro series you want to find. This is from, I think, 1986. And he was a character from 2099, I think is what it was called. It's like where Judge Dredd and all that stuff came from. Is a British character. So this first issue, he looks awesome on it. He doesn't really appear like that. Like it's just his spaceship running around the tubes. And his deal, Nemesis here, he's an warlock alien. Like literally, it's the race of warlocks. And he looks like a cross between like Baphomet and the xenomorph alien. And his deal is that he's an alien resistance fighter fighting against the leader of Earth, whose name is Torquemada, who's like a space Hitler, and he wants ethnic cleansing of all alien races because mankind is like the purest quote unquote race. So this is when Nemesis comes into his own, number 3. This is where it gets dope as dope gets. And then this one awesome one where he's like on everybody's heads. Look at that. Oh, it's a beauty. And this is where you meet the son of Nemesis, which is named Thoth, and you meet his uncle. All that shit. I had this one when I was like 6 years old, and this has one of the backstory in this I thought was one of the most romantic things I had ever seen. And once again, Torquemada devouring the earth. So this is like a whole like thing of it. And if you look at and then this is so this is the other series, Spellbinders, that Nemesis appears in. And the problem with Spellbinders is that the issues, like this issue, it looks cool. He's in the Gothic Empire. This one's cool. He's like a Celtic Conan sort of figure that warps spasms. And it's all about like Celtic savage stuff. He's with the Picts and everything. The Slain is awesome. More Slain stuff. Nemesis killing it, right? All right, so how cool he looks. See, it's kind of not the coolest cover, like it is, but like that framing of like Nemesis looks really off key. This cover is fucking terrible. The interior art is awesome though. Getting more Spellbinders where Torquemada is worshipped like a living god, and he has his own comic book expos. I'm going to show you the other Nemesis because it's important, you know. Again, Spellbinders, not great cover art. Awesome issue. Extremely awesome issue. And so this is Nemesis the Warlock, this version by Fleetway. And this is them reprinting all of like Nemesis's greatest hits through Spellbinders and the first series I just showed you, but totally in black and white. So if you're obsessed with seeing like what the original inks looked like, and this is Sam Keith doing the cover. He's the dude who did the Max, that had that TV show on MTV in the 90s. If you don't know about the Max, MAXX, you can find full episodes on YouTube. Look how awesome he looks. This one. Yeah. Cool cover. Fighting some dude. Another great cover. Super evil Nemesis. And then this Nemesis versus this evil Nemesis. Which finally leads us to what I was getting at the whole time. Swamp Thing. Now I'm going to turn off the light. So perhaps better lighting. Oh, actually, la-di-da-dee-dee. Do stay with me, ladies and gentlemen. As you see, I'm dancing for you. I'm dancing for you. I'm dancing for you. So there we go. No glare. So this is the Swamp Thing issue where it's a masterpiece. And this is where Swamp Thing's girlfriend was charged with bestiality laws because the townspeople found out she was banging, a giant plant creature. So she was going to go to prison, and she ran away, ended up in Gotham, and then they arrested her there, and they were about to extradite her, and Swamp Thing shows up super pissed, and he turns Gotham into a psychedelic jungle filled with like these psychedelic yams that come off his body, and then the people start eating all the yams and tripping and then worshiping him as a living pagan god. And it's all about how nature is terrorism against it. Like literally, nature is the terrorism of the structure of the city. And there's all kinds of wild social commentary, and he whoops Batman's ass. It's really an amazing thing to see. So we need to talk about Swamp Thing here. The reason why Swamp Thing is awesome is, ignoring all the content, there's this thing called the Comic Code Authority, which was created in the 1950s to police and censor comic books. And they made it so you couldn't do all sorts of stuff, long story short. And that's why comics were for kids, and all the 1960s DC and Marvel stuff is real goofy and over the top. They were prevented from having any kind of horror themes at all, any kind of like a lot of real world commentary, whatnot. So Swamp Thing is the first comic that was allowed to say F that, we're going to print it without that, and every single thing the Comics Code Authority said you could not do, we're going to do in this beautiful, amazing thing. And this is what made Alan Moore a household name with comic book readers, because he was kind of an obscure British writer for like Judge Dredd kind of stuff, and various like zines and stuff. And then he got his big shot with this, and then of course he did this, and then he did The Watchmen and V for Vendetta and a ton of other stuff as well. But so I have all but one of these, and the only reason I don't have the other one is because I have like the actual key issues, and I wanted to give it to a friend for a present. So you get these. This is like I don't know, is it 8 issues per thing? These are all like $20 a pop, but they're worth every dime. These are what's currently like you can get at comic book stores all over the place. Because once you get into Swamp Thing, dude, it just takes you over. I don't buy graphic novels like this, keep in mind. I buy single issues, and I'm like a 50-cent box guy. So you have to understand this, like how awesome this is. The like extreme nature of me actually spending that much money on comic books, because I couldn't get them anywhere else. That's it. I wanted to read them. And so get all 6 of those, but I'm just going to show you some. I have some of the cooler Swamp Thing issues just as singles. So yeah, this one, that's when they made that really shitty movie. That's okay. So Swamp Thing existed first in the 1970s. It ran its run. That's when Bernie Wrightson did it. And he was just a cool character, and he was a guy who got transformed into a muck monster, but it wasn't all that like deep. It was just a bunch of weird situations. And so they made that shitty movie, and then they tried to bring it back, and it was actually pretty cool. This is where he fights a bunch of vampires. So I have to wrap this up for space issues. This is when Alan Moore takes over, and Swamp Thing is no longer a man transformed into it. He never was a man. It was this plant material that grew around his corpse, and it was a plant that thought it was a man. And then he slowly becomes like a pagan god. And as he slowly like goes along his quest, the more his powers are unveiled to him. So it's like a different kind of body horror. It's about a man turning into a pagan god, essentially. That's why it's relevant to you as a witchy person. This is when he has to fight water vampires. Oof. This is when people start eating the psychedelic yams that grow on him. I forget what this one was, but it was a good one. This is when he has to go up against voodoo people. This is Voodoo Part 2. I showed you this one already. This is the fake funeral of Swamp Thing. It's pretty heart-wrenching. Commissioner Gordon gives him a beautiful eulogy. Batman says some kind words, and then this is when he gets resurrected in space, and it becomes a cosmic space adventure of him trying to get back to planet Earth. So anyway, that's everything I had to say, because I have to wrap it up. But comic books are magic too. That's some of Dr. Zero's Magic comic book collection. Oh, and if I got a second, I was talking about Mike Diana, the dude who went to jail. And this right here is something you're never going to see from anyone else. It's called Boiled Angel number 8, autographed by Mike Diana. Look at that cover. 1991. And again, it was just his writings, and it's like a punk rock zine with this dude's eating his own, eats his own pee-pee. Yeah, dude, if you can find this, I found this for 50 cents somewhere because the guy had no idea what it was. This thing, it should be worth thousands and thousands of dollars and should be in the Smithsonian. Anyway, Boiled Angel, Mike Diana, look him up. All right, Diana. Later.